It's a false choice. It's a man-made dilemma. It's a quandary we've backed ourselves into. Should the church become highly active in political affairs in order to drive the country in the right direction? Or should the church separate itself from political matters and just stick to the gospel, not dirtying itself with worldly matters? That seems to be the question that is always coming up, with very strong opinions on both sides of that debate. But it's an artificial dilemma that we've created for ourselves. There's a little background we need to cover to get to the heart of this. Some people may not be aware that part of the complexity, the dilemma here, is that the vast majority of churches have a very clear connection to the government, and it's a money connections. Most churches are tax exempt under federal law as a 501c3 tax exempt religious organization. Now, this allows them to collect money, use it how they want, pay no taxes on that money, and not have to file any annual report. That's a pretty sweet deal. But it comes with strings attached. As a 501c3 religious organization, there are some limitations for maintaining this tax-exempt status. The IRS website says this: under the Internal Revenue Code, all Section 501c3 organizations are absolutely prohibited from directly or indirectly participating in or intervening in any political campaign on behalf of or in opposition to any candidate for elective public office. Contributions to political campaign funds or public statements of position, either verbal or written, made on behalf of the organization in favor of or in opposition to any candidate for public office clearly violate the prohibition against political campaign activity. So, there's the dilemma we've put ourselves into. We like having the extra money, the money that we get to keep because we're tax exempt. But the cost of having that money is we have to keep our mouths shut about any political campaigns. In other words, we're supposed to stay silent. Stay silent about the people that will decide on the laws of the land that say what's right and what's wrong. Things like divorce and pornography and abortion and homosexuality and child gender transition, just to name a few. For the sake of a few dollars, we've silenced ourselves on these right and wrong topics. We can't blame the government. We signed up for this. We didn't have to. No one forced us to. Nothing in the Bible requires it. We voluntarily signed up. We thought we could use the extra money. So how does this decision that we've made stack up against what God calls us to be? That's the real point. I'm confident that most Christians would quickly agree that one of the roles of Christians is to do good works and show God's love to the world. Jesus says in Matthew 5:16, "Let your light shine before men, so they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven." So that role for Christians is hopefully not up for debate. But what is it when our role comes to calling out and standing up against evil? Well, a quick scan through the New Testament makes it clear that that is also an important role for Christians as well. Ephesians 5:11 says it pretty clearly. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. Further instruction is provided one chapter forward in Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. And Romans 12:21 provides even further exhortation on this subject. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Pretty hard to overcome evil if you don't call it out and stand up against it. James 4:4 says, "You adulterous people, do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God." We go on with more Bible passages to drive this point home, but these should be more than enough to make it very clear that as Christians, we have a duty to expose evil and stand against it. And if that evil is being brought forward from school boards or mayors or governors or members of Congress or the president, we still have to stand against it. That's what the Bible calls us to do. And you may say, I hear you, but we can't. We've registered with the government as a tax-exempt religious organization, and therefore we're prohibited from speaking about these people. The way things have been going lately, there's a real chance that we could lose our tax-exempt status if we speak up about some of these people or some of these issues. Can we just be honest with ourselves about the choice we're making here? We're choosing to have more money instead of standing up against evil as God calls us to do. Jesus says either you'll hate the one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Wow. I mean, wow. Looks like Jesus knew 2,000 years ago about this dilemma we would be facing today. So what are we going to do about it? Hold on to our money? Or give it up if that's what it takes to do what God says to do? Which are we going to serve? And just because this is what the other churches do doesn't make it right. Just because this is the way our government works doesn't make it right. Just because this is culturally accepted doesn't make it right. Just because we've done it this way for a long time doesn't make it right. At the cultural intersection of politics and spirituality, or perhaps better described as the intersection of politics and obedience to God, what choice are we going to make? Who are we going to serve? When the way we are currently doing church interferes with following the commands of God, it's time to change how we're doing church. We voluntarily signed up for these restrictions. We can voluntarily step away from them, unless money is more important to us. God gave us free will. Perhaps it's time to use that to His glory. Not a comfortable subject, but self-examination rarely is comfortable. Some things to think about. Thanks for listening. God bless you on your journey.